everyone, so welcome back. This is part 2 of the Van Gogh Cafe Terrace at Night piece that I'm doing. I made this piece because I did not feel like buying a print of it. I'm moving, I wanted some nice art on my walls, I had a bunch of canvas laying around, I wanted this painting, so I was like, well, I might as well just do one. I've already done another Van Gogh reproduction interpretation. I did Starry Night in acrylic, which I swear to God I will never do again. That was a nightmare. And I just felt like having my own interpretation of the piece. It was fun, it gave me something to do, and it got rid of the canvas. So you'll notice this video is 30 minutes long, and that is because iMovie quite literally refused to speed it up anymore. So I decided that I'm actually gonna talk and do a voiceover and talk about process and all kinds of fun stuff. So if you do not feel like watching 30 minutes of this, I totally don't blame you. But if you want to stick around, that's really cool. This YouTube has garnered much more attention than I thought it would, with 18 subscribers as I'm recording this now, and that seems like a very small number in terms of YouTube and what I've heard of, but honestly, that's really insane because I did not expect to even get 5 people. So honestly, thank you guys. This has been really kind of you. Thank you for taking an interest in something that I just kind of did for fun out of nowhere. Mostly because my friend Audra and Lopi, they inspired me to do a lot of different crazy things for art, and they inspired me to make a YouTube as well. Plus, I don't know, it's just so inspiring to see a lot of artists nowadays get on YouTube and share a lot of their mess-ups, which I think is actually my favorite part. I know a lot of people do really nice speed paintings where everything's perfect and polished. Especially, if you've seen, I don't know, an artist like Lena Danya, she does these incredible oil paintings, and they're, crazy spot on, but she also does this series called Sketchbook Sunday, where she just, does a quick oil painting in her sketchbook, and it's very unpolished, and it looks great. So I kind of wanted to just put my own art out there. I am 100% not trained. I am 100% taught by myself. With most of my art progress happening probably in the last 2 years, and almost all of that thanks to Instagram and YouTube, just constantly watching, constantly learning from all these different people that I follow. Everyone's been such a huge inspiration. So I'm just throwing myself out there in the internet void. So this painting, I had previously done a Starry Night Van Gogh piece, and I did it in acrylics back when I first started painting, which was a disaster. I really don't like painting with acrylics. There are some people I know who can do it crazy well and it looks like oil painting. I am not one of those people. I work really well in gouache, which is the set that you see here. I'm using a Reeves introductory set of gouache because I still consider myself very introductory. I have a few, if you see over on the side, I have some acrylic gouache, which is incredible, by the way. If you can get your hands on some, it's really fantastic gouache. I'm a big fan of it. So I'm kind of transitioning into some big boy paints, but very, very slowly and very carefully, because as you'll see in this painting, I'm still very much learning. I don't entirely know what I'm doing, but I think that just comes with experience, and the more that you paint, the more you'll figure out how things work, how to paint a face, which is something that I only very recently, in the past month, figured out kind of how to do. And it's really just throwing yourself repeatedly at a goal and hoping eventually, one day, your hands will figure it out. So this is me, my hands figuring out how to paint with gouache, and it turned out much better than I expected. A lot of this painting, what I mostly struggled with was, I would say probably mixing the colors right. I wasn't going for an exact copy of Cafe Terrace by Night, because, I mean, like, copying Van Gogh, that's a really, really high goal. So I just kind of want to do my own fun, like, the way I see it in my head when I picture it, not necessarily the way that Van Gogh painted it and it's hanging up in a museum. So with that in mind, I kind of like made it a bit more whimsical and colorful than it actually is, and I left out some stuff, like some color mixing that was very hard, because I think that's what I struggled with most, especially with you'll notice in this painting there's a lot of like greens, peach tones, black tones, brown tones. Oh, my cat has decided to say hello. Hello, cat. That's what I struggled with most, and it's actually what I liked the most. My palette becomes a mess by the end of this painting, but I absolutely loved it, and I think I want to do more challenging pieces like this, where it's a lot of different color and a lot of like very contrasting tones. It creates such a nice atmosphere, especially in here. There's like a very dark, one side of the painting is very, very dark and heavy. And the only sides of it that are really light are reflected from the light of the cafe here, and it's very bright and vivid. It has like also these dark, it also like oh my god, it reflects, each side reflects the other. It's very nice, but it's something that I want to do to challenge myself more. I'm sorry if you hear any weird background noises, it's all my cat. I don't even actually know how he got in here because the door was closed. But he's making a mess of everything, so that's fine. I paint a lot. I mostly just paint like tiny gouache studies in a sketchbook, mixed media sketchbook that I have. And I would paint, I say, at least once a week, because I draw almost every day, and I paint at least once a week. Because if I don't like keep in the habit of it, then it kind of like, I don't know, my hand loses the touch for it. A lot of times, I mean, if I take a break, then I won't be as willing to start up again. Like, the longer I go without painting, the more I'll say, oh, I can't do it, I'm not really feeling it, what if it doesn't turn out well? But if I just keep plowing through it, if I just, I make one painting, take like a day break to focus on something else, because I have a lot of different hobbies, and then I come back and say, oh, what if I painted some flowers on a wood block that I have? And then I do that, and that gives me a bunch of ideas, and then I come back to something like a traditional painting and I work on it. So that's how I kind of keep in the rhythm of this, and it's really helped. Like, I was actually, when I took like a day break from this painting, and I came back to it, it actually turned out much better than I thought, and I actually really ended up liking it, which is definitely not how I felt about my earlier paintings and such. So I feel like maybe that's a sign that I might be getting better. If you may have seen my sketchbook video from a while ago. That has art that actually is not that old, but the beginning of the sketchbook, you can definitely tell I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just, oh, there he goes, and I was just messing along. So, but I had a lot of fun. the more you practice, the better it's going to be. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be as good as the image in your head. But, I mean, it's kind of the same with writing, which is something that I also do. When you write, especially your first draft, or I guess to make an analogy, when you do your first sketch, it's never as good as the picture you have in your brain. It's really far from the idea that you originally had. But the more you render it, the more you refine it, the more you practice, you learn to get closer and closer to that actual idea of what it's supposed to be like, of making the image in your head come to life. And it can be really discouraging sometimes, you know, if you have like a style that's very different, or if you're really struggling with perspective and you've been practicing, especially if you've been practicing for a while and you're having a hard time like seeing any results. But, you know, like, at the end of the day, if it's something that you enjoy and it's something that you find yourself drawn to, it's really good to just let yourself be free with it. Like, when I first did the Van Gogh painting, my first one, the Starry Night one, I started it off just as a whim, just because I felt like, oh, you know, I have this random canvas, I have some acrylic paint, let's do something. I've never really painted before. So I threw myself in the deep end and ended up spending like weeks plus on this painting, and for such a long time when I was first trying it out, I tried to get it like specifically exactly the way, all of the different brushstrokes that he did. And one by one, those ideas fell. I made the bushes too close to the church, too close to the town. I didn't have the angle of the hills just right. And I had to like start finding like creative solutions of making things work. So I colored things a little bit differently to match the shadow of the way light would have landed on my new semi-imaginary Starry Night. And like, I just adapted it to my own skill set, and I adapted it to the way that I thought of it in my head, and it actually turned out really well. I was very pleased with it, even though like I look on it now 2 years later and I say like, oh yeah, I could have done it first of all not in acrylic because it left it really like blocky and strange looking. Doing it in gouache would have given me much nicer colors, but it still has like a certain charm about it. And that's what's really nice. I did this piece in gouache because, of course, I did not want to do this color mixing in acrylic, but also because I wanted to stretch myself, you know. I'd actually never done a piece of gouache artwork on this pre-stretched canvas. I'd only ever done it gouache on paper. And it was a little hard to figure it out at first, because if I made the gouache too wet, then it wouldn't like stick, or I guess maybe bind with the canvas, just the plain canvas. So there were some spots that I did when I was first laying out this piece. There were some like blocks of paint that I did in acrylic just to give the gouache a little bit better of a hold, since it wasn't originally sticking that well to the canvas. So the blocks of black and the blocks of blue I did in acrylic just as a base. But it was very challenging mixing the colors right. It was very challenging to get the, I guess, brush strokes the way that I wanted them, because I knew I wasn't going to go for something that was specifically exactly like Van Gogh, but I wanted something in a very similar loose style. And it took me a while, I would say, until I didn't quite get it in the first part, in the first video. But especially here, once I started outlining things, when I started drawing the people in the cafe, it really clicked. It was like, oh, this makes sense. My hand just kind of knew what it was doing. When I was doing this painting, I was listening to a podcast about a female serial killer, Eileen Warner. And I, at this point, I wasn't really paying attention to the painting. I was just zoned out, imagining and listening to the podcast. And I think that's kind of like when I maybe do my best work, is when I'm just sitting there where my body is really in tune to the painting and my mind it's too distracted. It doesn't have the ability to question everything that I'm painting, because if I did, Lord knows, I would have looked at those chairs and said, oh my god, that is not the perspective of a chair. What is that? It looks like a chair just threw up on the canvas. But it's fine. It's really cute. It's really expressive. It's not particularly great, maybe in the view of awe to people, but it's a chair. It works, you know? And I had a great time doing it. I had a great time doing these shutters, too. I just had a great time doing this painting in general. I had a great time. This piece got a lot of love, even though I was very frustrated because my phone was giving me so many troubles, you know, with zero storage and having to pause and upload videos constantly to Dropbox just so I could record more. Like, I was still very passionate and very, like, I did it all in one day, all in one take. I wasn't going to stop. I was very committed to doing it because at this point the painting was like just a thing that was happening, and it was happening through my hand. It's so interesting to go back and look on this, because like I know the parts where I started paying attention to the painting and what I was doing and questioning myself, and the parts where I just like let myself roll. The parts where I just let myself roll, I end up liking a lot better. But it's hard, you know, like to stop questioning yourself and to stop questioning what you're doing in the painting, especially because, like, you know, I was recording this painting with the intent of putting it up on YouTube, and I was a little nervous about getting it right initially when I was like doing this, but eventually it was just like, oh, there are a number of people who, for one reason or another, like to watch me art, so I guess they can just watch me put gouache on this piece of canvas, and I hope they like it. But if they don't, that's okay, because I like this piece of art and it's fun. And if they like it and if they get inspiration from it, then that's good. That's what I actually think maybe is the real goal of this YouTube, is to provide inspiration for others, because I've gotten so much inspiration from like other people on here, from other artists' YouTube, which is part of the reason why I started painting at all. So this is kind of like a thank you, an homage to them, even though it may not be the most skillful thank you or the nicest drawn thank you card. You know, it's still like what they did means a lot to me, and maybe I can help do for others what they did for me. So in here, I'm just going over final details now. I have everything pretty much blocked out in the painting. The only thing by this point that I hadn't like fully done yet was the tree was not dark enough. I think maybe, yeah, start working on it now. Right here, I'm struggling. You see, I just picked up some of the yellow paint because I realized this black was too flat. It blended into the black of the background behind, which now that I'm thinking about it, I had just done it in a flat black. I think maybe I should have mixed it with some dark blue, just to give it like a slight color reflection of the sky, because this tree turns out actually not too bad, because I have it with the yellowy base where it's kind of like reflecting off of the needles. It's not just black. It's both green and yellow, which like is the color that reflects off dark leaves. It has kind of a brownish tinge to it too. So yeah, definitely color mixing is something that tripped me up here, and I might do some more like intense color. By the way, like, sorry about my bangs. My hair is very curly and it gets in the way a lot. I think I'm not done doing paintings of Van Gogh. because I love them so much. And I basically like constantly am drawn to his paintings. I'm constantly buying his books. Man, I don't even know how many books of Van Gogh art that I've read, painted, how many projects on him that I've done. Him and Andy Warhol are probably my favorites. But I think one of the elements that I'm most drawn to in his art, which I maybe want to bring into my own, is his depiction of stars. So in this painting, you'll see the starry sky, but also in the backgrounds of other paintings, like in portraits that he's done of people where he's done a starry background behind them. It just turns out absolutely beautiful. And I want to do some studies like that where I have like the portrait of the person done in a very like loose line work kind of study. And I have this very hard brush line cross stroke background done with a dark background with the stars on them. I think that would look really nice. That's another video probably to come. So this YouTube is very new, and it's taken off in a very small. It's maybe not taken off is maybe not quite the right word. It's like slightly lifted off the ground. It's slightly lifted off the ground more than I thought that it would. So I'm really excited about it. And I want to do a lot more pieces. I did my sketchbook tour, and then I started doing these videos. I think tentatively I'm going to stick to a schedule where I upload on Tuesdays, because I'm free on Tuesdays and I can record, or hopefully I can get it recorded on the weekend and then have it done before Tuesday and have it ready to go. So I will be doing more recordings of sketchings, just small sketchings, as well as small paintings. It won't always be me doing Van Gogh, even though I can guarantee you I will be doing more of his work in the future. The reason, by the way, that I printed the picture out is that even though I wanted to do an interpretation from my head, I needed a base of the colors, and using my computer just wasn't giving me, like, it was, I don't know, I find it very hard to use color references from the computer, so I just printed out the page so that I could, like, manhandle it, use it, stick the paintbrush right next to the page and see if it was like a similar color, especially for the parts that were difficult to color match, like the tree. I was having a hell of a time doing it on the computer, so printing it out was just a much easier option for me, and it gave me, it gave my eyes like a much easier time of figuring out, oh, this is red mixed with like a very, very tiny bit of blue, and a very, 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 very tiny bit of green, like sap green. So maybe like that's a good recommendation if you're struggling with painting and references in particular. Try using like a printed out reference. In here, I'm going over, I felt like there wasn't enough reflection of like the yellow light that was coming off of the cafe onto the ground below, even though I had like a lighter blue that was reflecting off onto the, I guess, cobblestone. So I just added in like a lot more yellow so that it looked not only like more busy and less organized because it was in like the crowded atmosphere of the cafe, but also just to get some of that light on the ground. Some things I realized that I left out, like this, these stripes that I'm doing here. I realized I left them out late. There's also stripes. I just erased it with my finger. There are also stripes on that little strip of baseboard, but I just decided not to do them. It wouldn't have looked great. It was just, man, my bangs get in the way. It wouldn't have looked great. It was okay leaving them behind, so I just kind of was like, okay, this is fine. This is okay. So small, I guess, fun fact, introducing myself. I know that there's a Hello YouTube video on this channel, but honestly it's so old. I might either remove it or like do a new one. But for you subscribers that have been following me, especially really recently, hi, my name is Vero. I'm a graduate of a college where I studied creative writing and anthropology. I did not study painting. I did not study art, although I did a lot of it in my free time. I still, to this day, write a lot when I'm not painting and I'm not drawing. I also do a lot of fiber arts work. I do knitting, I do crocheting, weaving, needle felting, cross-stitching. If it's a hobby, there's a 101 chance that I've either thought about it or actually do it. If you guys are interested, although I think for now I'm mostly going to keep this channel art focused, who knows? I think I might sneak some other things on there, like maybe like a knitting tutorial or stuff like that. Just like in the general theme of creativity and writing, which is what my like website and what the like idea behind Kinetic Radio, which is the name of my Instagram and the name of my channel is. I guess Kinetic Radio was a phrase that I came up with as a way of like, I don't know, I have a very romantic view of the radio, like people on late at night doing all of these shows, like making ideas, making music, making the things you would hear on the radio in your dream radio. I don't know. It's a way of making them real, turning them into actual physical pieces. That's what Kinetic Radio is about. And it's a little bit dumb, maybe? It's a little bit dumb, but I really like it. It's something that means a lot to me. That's me. Plans for the future. I will get a better phone, hopefully. One that isn't 3 years old and that has more than a gigabyte of storage available if I delete everything off of it. Maybe even a camera with an actual camera rig. That would be nice. Maybe a table, because I live in an apartment right now. I live in an apartment with 5 other people. So hopefully very soon I'll have my own studio. I can have a much better setup for all of this, so the videos are a little bit nicer quality. And I'm not constantly stopping to upload everything to Dropbox. This is it. This is a really grainy shot. I'm sorry, but it was the best I could get hanging on my wall. This is my rig, just so you know how, like, very ghetto all of this is. This is the best that I could do. So thank you guys for watching. Bye!